Morning, everybody. Normally when I'm filming, the sun's in my eyes. And I'm super sweaty and I'm hiking. So today I was like, oh, I'll just sit down and speak from that space of sitting. So let's just take a second here. I don't think most people know how extraordinarily powerful and healing they are. And the reason they don't know that is because they're afraid of their true nature. They're afraid of their own presence because their own presence is a confrontation with the 4 existential fears. Fear of death, fear of meaninglessness, fear of lack of freedom, and fear of isolation. And in an awakening, a non-dual recognition, when awareness is conscious of itself, meaning it's not focused and enraptured and entertaining the personality any longer. So that's subsiding, and awareness is registered as who you are, who you truly are, which is what you are. The persona is wired to continue avoiding that. And so the loss of self is actually the deconditioning or the weakening of that personality structure. And the reason it is sequential and it happens in phases is because the whole system is set up. Okay, this is totally obvious. That's why everybody's not walking around with explosive nuclear awakenings at all times, because the psyche is structured to actually protect the system from that, from its true self. This is where its wires were crossed and misinterpreted reality and misinterpreted it. It believed it was separate. So it left home to try and survive on its own psychologically. So non-duality is the awakening from that dream, the end of that separation. I mean, that's what we're talking about here. So awakeness and awareness, or this deep presence, if you will, but it's not your presence. It's just the non-localized being of all that is, which is what you are, begins like a magnet to pull in all the different dynamics of the separate self. And actually, I was just going to say it kind of bleeds into the personality as well. So it's a confrontation with all the different roots of separation, all the different mechanisms that the personality structure has utilized to avoid those 4 core existential fears that I just mentioned. And the safety mechanism is oriented in this way to protect the system from its belief in annihilation, in obliteration. Okay, and I'm not making this up. This is existential psychology. You can look it up. I'm just tying it into the loss of the personal I, what we call the loss of the personal self in this topic. So these potent forces of your true self, of your true being, one characteristic of them is that they are alchemical. So when you have these deeply powerful charges in the system, like anger, like grief, like joy even, we've been socialized to express some of them and not express others. So joy is an acceptable energy to express. Anger, grief, desolation, greed, and so forth are not. So they get suppressed, they get sent down into the psyche, and they get utilized to prevent the system from facing its own separateness. Because if it faces its own separateness, the root of separation, will actually find that it's not separate. And if it finds that it's not separate, then it will have to find out the truth. I can't tell you how many spiritual communities I've been in where they give you the watered down version of reality, the spiritualized version of reality, because the truth is no self. It's the facing of those core existential fears. You can't sell it. No one's going to want it. You can't create a religion around it. No one's going to follow it. You don't get anything here. You get 4 existential fears. So that's why this is avoided, not only by society and by these organizations and spiritual traditions, not all of them. Again, here we talk about Advaita Vedanta, which does not avoid this. It goes immediately to the middle, to the core, direct inquiry. But again, the psyche's programmed to avoid this as well. So that's what this deconditioning is all about. It's a progressive shift, because if you had a full falling through into the no thing, and also it's not you having it, it's just the energetics, the dynamic here at play when it's facing these truths, these powerful truths. And if you've had a non-dual recognition, and if you are paying attention to your awakening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know how profound this is. One reason for that is it's not happening on a personal level. It's happening at the level of consciousness itself, right? So the implications of an awakening are universal. They, at that point, are, even though the personal I is affected by it, it's not the level that it's happening on. That's why it's very difficult to understand what's happening when you're going through some of these shifts, because they have really nothing to do with the thought processes, other than, again, this deconditioning that we talk about here. And what's happening on a universal level, nobody knows. We could not know those things. So let's see here, what else? So I highly recommend, if you're going through these things, to sit with the energies and not express them. So many people want to come to this topic and continue beating a dead horse, for lack of a better metaphor, and just like expressing their personal story, expressing their personal suffering, alleviating the sense of separation through all the storytelling. And I'm going to recommend you don't do that, at least for like 10 minutes. Sit with these frequencies, sit with these energies, be with these sensations, these raw primal feelings. If you felt grief, if you felt elation, if you felt bliss, if you felt anger, you know what I'm talking about. You know how powerful these things are. Let's see what else. I think we'll leave it at that for today. Okay? Take good care. I'll see you soon.